In this video, we're going to be exploring the concept of condition-controlled iteration. Now, key to understanding condition-controlled iteration is understanding logical expressions and variables. So if you don't feel 100% confident with those concepts, I'd suggest that you go back to the videos on those concepts and just recap them. Okay, so let's get stuck into talking about condition-controlled iteration. We're going to focus first of all on that final word, iteration. So when we're talking about iteration in the real world, we're essentially talking about repetition. We're talking about repeating. Within programming, when we talk about iteration, we're talking about the repetition of instructions. And that is how I'm going to define it. In my notes, I'm going to say repetition, or iteration rather, equals the repetition of instructions. Condition-controlled iteration is very similar. We can describe condition-controlled iteration as the repetition of instructions whilst a condition is being met. So that is how I'm going to describe it within my notes. I'm going to say condition-controlled iteration equals the repetition of instructions whilst a condition is being met. Okay, so now we've got the two definitions of iteration and condition-controlled iteration out of the way. Let's start to take a look at how we can program condition-controlled iteration into a Python program. Now, when we are using condition-controlled iteration, we are going to use a while loop. And we can think of those two terms interchangeably. Condition-controlled iteration means while loop, and while loop means condition-controlled iteration. When I'm using a while loop, I'm always going to start off with the keyword while. So I'm just going to type in the keyword while, and I'm going to label it as a keyword in my notes. So I've got the keyword while there, and I'm just going to add a note just describing it as such, as a keyword. The next thing I'm going to do is start to construct a logical expression. So a logical expression is the comparison of two values that return either a true or a false value. When we're using a logical expression within the construction of a while loop, we are always going to use it in conjunction with a variable. So before I begin to construct my logical expression, I'm just going to declare a variable. So I'm going to create a variable called count, and I'm going to make it hold the value of 0 to begin with. Now that I've got my variable created, I can start to construct my logical expression. So I'm going to construct a logical expression that is comparing the variable of count to see if it is less than or lower than the value of 5. And I'm going to end that line of code with a colon. I'm going to label it as a logical expression within my notes. And then I'm going to start to construct the second part of my while loop. Now we know that a logical expression returns either true or false based on a comparison of two values. Currently, my logical expression is going to be returning true because my variable count is holding the value of 0, which is less than 5. Now within a while loop, if my logical expression is returning true, then whatever is indented underneath the keyword while is going to repeat. So I'm going to print out the value that is being held in the variable count within my loop, and then I'm going to increase the value that is held in the variable count by 1. So I'm going to say count equals count plus 1. I'm going to add a note, and within that note I'm just going to say whatever. I'll make my box a little bit bigger and say whatever is indented underneath the keyword while will execute whilst the logical expression is returning true. Okay, So let's head over to Replit now and start to have a look at how we can construct a condition controlled loop, a while loop in other words, within Python. So when I'm in Python, the first thing that I'm going to do is type out my variable. So I'm going to construct a variable called count, and I'm going to make it hold the value of 0. I'm then going to begin to construct my while loop. So when I'm constructing my while loop, the first thing I'm going to do is type in the keyword while. Then I'm going to construct my logical expression. Within my logical expression, I'm going to be comparing the value of count, which currently is 0, and I'm going to be checking if it is less than 5 rather. Whatever is indented underneath my keyword while, that is the code that is going to execute whilst my logical expression is returning true. So within my while loop, I'm just going to print out the value of count, and I'm also going to increase the variable count by 1 each time the loop repeats. So let's just run through the structure of our while loop one more time, and then we'll run this code and we'll make sure that it's running in the way that we want it to. So when I'm constructing my while loop, the first thing I do is type in the keyword while, and that's telling my program that I'm using a while loop. I then have a logical expression which is going to return either true or false based off of the comparison of two values. Here I'm comparing the value held in the variable count, which is initially 0, and I'm checking to see if it is less than 5. If that condition is true, then true is returned from my logical expression, and whatever is indented underneath the keyword while will repeat. So whilst count is less than 5, we should have the value held within the variable count output to the console. Fantastic. So my loop is working as I expected. It's repeating 5 times because there's going to be 5 occasions when the variable count is less than the value of 5.